Hey y'all, it's Bailey with Reclaim Grays. I'm so happy you clicked on this video. I have 3 really good thrift to treasure projects for y'all today. Every single one of them started off rough, very rough shape, and we got them looking gorgeous, beautiful, up to date, and sellable. Y'all let me know what y'all think about these projects, and we're going to get started right now. I hope everyone is doing wonderful today. Here is our first project. It's an oval mirror. It's an older piece. It has a little bit of damage in the frame, but we're not worried about that because we're going to make this look old. I'm going to start off by giving it a good first clean. This is not going to be the only time we clean it, but this is just a good starting point because this thing was filthy. It's been hanging around my workshop for a little while, and before that, it was actually gifted to me, and before that, I'm sure it was in a barn for a couple of years. I'm going to flip it over and get rid of the wire hanger on the back and this old backing paper. We're going to get rid of that. I was honestly scared to lift it up with my hands, so I grabbed my snippers to lift it up because you never know what kind of critters are under there. And there actually was a dead bug in there, and I'm terrified of insects, so either way, now I'm coming in with a plastic scraper and getting rid of any of that loose paper around the edges. I'm going to take my leaf blower and get out any dust and insects that was in there, and then we're going to give the back a good clean. Now I'm going to protect that mirror. I have me in high speed right here because this was a process. I've heard using a deck of cards, and I'm going to pick me some up from the Dollar Tree for this exact reason. But I just shoved my contractor's paper between the mirror and the frame and then taped it all shut. And now I'm going to prime the frame just with some shellac. I have some exposed plaster that we need to get sealed up, and this will just be a good starting point for our milk paint. While our shellac is drying, I'm going to mix up some milk paint. This is the color O Olive by Sweet Pickens. I absolutely love this green. It's a great spring green. If you've never worked with milk paint before, it's in a powdered formula, and you just mix equal parts powder to equal parts water. I did 2 scoops of each. Then I have this little hand whisk that I whisked up for about 2 minutes, and I set it to the side and let it thicken up for about 10. By that time, my shellac was dry, and I'm going to start applying my milk paint to my frame. And I'm just using a chip brush here and just applying our first coat. Once I get that first coat down, I'm going to give Roscoe some head scratches while I am drying our first coat of milk paint. Just using my heat gun on the high setting and just keeping the heat gun moving constantly. This will force dry that paint and create some crackle. This is how we're looking after that first coat is dry. Now I'm going to come in and just apply a second coat, and I would say I did about 2 full coats and then about a half a coat, just touching up some spots here and there, drying in between each coat with the heat gun. And here is how we're looking. We got some chip and paint, some crackle. It's looking good. So now we need to seal in that milk paint, and I'm going to use the Sweet Pickens Dark Oil Wax. Make sure you give this a good shake before you use it, and I just like to dump it on my project and then use a disposable brush. I'm just using a chip brush here to spread it around evenly. This product is hard to clean out of your brush, so I would suggest using a disposable brush for sure. Unless you have like a special cleaner, which I do not. I need to get some. So I'm just going to apply this evenly, and by the time I'm all the way around my mirror, it's has been up there for about 10 minutes. So I'm going to take a little shop towel and get off any excess product. While I'm doing this, some of the paint is chipping off, and it is fabulous. Now we're going to rip all that tape and paper off of our mirror, and then we're going to give it a good clean. I don't think I showed that part, but I did have to go around and kind of with a sharp knife and go up under the frame and glass because of the paper stuck up under there, but it's fine. I got it all off. And now I have cut down a piece of contractor's paper and using my hot glue gun to add a fresh backing to our mirror. Once I get my paper stuck down, I'm going to come in with a 80 grit piece of folded sandpaper and just sand off the excess paper. I added a new hanging hardware on the back, and then I added a hook to hang a Temu wreath. This is a gorgeous lavender wreath I got off of Temu for, I think it was like $6 or $7. I love how this came out. I'm going to price this one for probably $69.95. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this project. Moving on, here we have a $5 sad, poor little stool bench. I seen the potential, and this was quite a bit of work, I'm not going to lie. But we're going to go ahead and get started on it by removing that top. Just took some beating and banging and a little bit of prying to get that removed. And I don't know if you can see, but it was held on by 4 nails, one on each corner. So once I get the top removed, I'm just going to take my hammer and some snips and get those 4 nails out of the corners. Once I got that top removed, I clearly seen every single joint on this bench needed to be re-glued. So I started on that process, just working a joint at a time, applying glue, and then applying the clamps. And the saying that you can never have too many clamps is 100% true. Clamps for the win here. Everything was clamped up nice. I let it sit and dry overnight, and then we're going to move on to filling in the holes where a dowel actually ran across the bottom apron of the bench, but I didn't have a dowel that would fit in the hole, so we're just going to fill it up with some Bondo. This is a 2-part product. It comes with the cream and then it comes with the hardener. You just need a little pea-sized drop of the hardener, and then you mix it in together until you have one solid color. I'm going to overfill these a bit so I don't have to do 2 separate applications. Just really pushing the product into that hole and then leaving a little mound. I'm going to do the same thing for the opposite side. I gave that about 10 minutes to dry. This Bondo dries very quickly, and then I'm going to come in and sand it flush. I apologize if my background is distracting. This is for sure the messy side of my workshop. It's my wood shop area, so I apologize if that's distracting. I really need to get my dust collection set up in here. It'd be a lot easier not having to put a mask on every time you sand, but it's a project for a different day. Now I'm going to switch out my sandpaper to one of these foam abrasive pads. Since we have some curved details, that's the whole reason I invested in this Serve Pro sander, is because of this. It just eliminates a lot of hand sanding. I'm going to go across the entire bench, all the spindles, and get it fully sanded. And this took a while because it had a lot of felling finish that really needed to come off, so we can be sure our paint will stick. Now I'm going to come in and remove all that sanding dust. I'm just using my Mr. bottle to get it damp and a microfiber cloth to get it cleaned and wiped down. I'm going to give that time to dry before we move on to our next step. Next, I'm going to come in with 2 coats of shellac. This is just going to seal up that wood and just make our paint go on a lot easier and smoother. This product dries extremely fast, so within 10 to 15 minutes, I was able to recoat. We are going to be using a darker green this time. This is Bayberry by Fusion, and this is an absolutely gorgeous green. I don't use it a lot, but I do truly love this green as well. Y'all know green's my favorite color. I paint almost everything green. It's a problem. But either way, we're going to get this first coat on. I'm using a pointed paintbrush here to just help it get into all the nooks and crannies on the spindle. And I started off with the bench upside down to make sure I get all the underneath edges and sides, and then once I get that coated, I will flip the bench over and paint the top side. I did 2 full coats, letting the paint dry about 2 hours between each coat. Now let's work on the top. This needed some love. This fabric literally fell apart. It was so old. So I'm just taking a flathead screwdriver and prying these layers of fabric off. I had 2 layers of fabric. You'll see the layers in a second. And then I also got out the nails on the bottom side. So I had 2 layers of fabric, the batting, and then like several pieces of broken wood, and then the base piece. We're going to get rid of all that. I have a piece of plywood here that I'm going to take that bottom piece from the original stool bench, and I'm going to trace around that just with a pencil, lining up the 2 edges and then tracing these 2 edges. Move that off to the side, and this is going to be our new bottom base. I'm going to use my circular saw to cut on those marked lines. Once cut down, I'm going to go over it very quickly with a piece of sandpaper just so we don't have any splinters. Here I have some batting folded over, so I'm cutting through 2 pieces at the same time, and these scissors are clearly giving me a problem. I kept on, cut that out, and now I'm going to flip everything over on that batting, get everything positioned, and then we're going to start stapling this into our plywood. Whenever I'm reupholstering something, I'll start on one side and then go to the opposite side so I can pull it taut. I will staple that side, and then I will move on to the other sides. With the corners, I like to just kind of fold it into a triangle type shape and put 3 staples to hold that corner down. Here is our thrifted fabric I picked up for $2, and it is high quality fabric. I love the floral design on it, and if you look really closely, it has some of that exact bayberry color in it. I'm going to get this cut down. I'm going to cut it about 2 inches larger on each side. I'm going to flip it over on my makeshift workbench right here, and then we're going to start stapling this fabric down. I'm going to staple this line right above the other staple line just to cover up the batting. There you go. Then I just cut off any excess fabric so I didn't have a lot of excess flopping around. So here is a pocket hole jig and my pocket hole bit in my impact. I'm going to place this where you see me placing it on the 4 corners, and I'm going to clamp it down with this special clamp. It's also by Craig jig. And then I laid my bench down, and we're going to drill some pocket holes so we can secure our top. I did this, the one to the right that you see right there was a practice, but I did 3 holes on each longer side. I'm going to get my top adjusted, make sure it's lined up correctly, and then I'm going to use the pocket hole screws to go through the bench into the plywood, making sure it didn't go through the top, and luckily it didn't. And I'm just going to continue putting those screws in to secure our new top, and this baby is done. I love how it came out. That fabric is everything to me. It is very vintage looking. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this project. I think I'm going to price it for either $59 or $69. What do y'all think? This piece I picked up from like a antique store, but it had flea market prices, I guess. Either way, I paid $5 for it because I had some inspiration that I knew this piece would be perfect for. So that painted design was raised, so I gave that a quick sand to make sure everything was flat, gave it a good wipe down, and now I'm coming in with some coal black by Fusion to just paint that intersection. I did 2 coats on this side, and the back side was already black, so I just gave it a fresh coat of black. I'm cutting in right here because I do want to leave those 2 end pieces the wood color it already is. I let that paint dry very thoroughly, and now I'm coming in with the IOD Transfer Franz Botanical. I grabbed this one and used it a lot last year, so I'm just trying to use up my last few pieces in this transfer book, and I wish I could tell you I had some in stock, but I do not. This one is sold out on the IOD wholesale page, and it has been sold out for a while. So hopefully we'll get that soon for the summer. I'm going to figure out placement and start transferring these designs down. I like to rub all over at first and then pick a corner and start lifting and rubbing at the same time. Transfers go on. They're very easily to apply, but you do have to have some patience with the more detailed designs like this one. If it's a solid design, it transfers very easily, but like I said, when you have all the little roots and leaves that are kind of individual pictures, just make sure everything is transferring down, and if it's not, all you have to do is lay that paper backing back down and rub some more, and it just comes right off. I'm going to take my hand and burnish these really well just to make sure the full transfer is stuck up there. And then I felt like we needed a little bit more detail, so I'm going to come in with the ephemeral type IOD stamp, and I'm going to use some partial stamps here. I'm using my IOD permanent white ink to ink up the back of my stamp, and then I'm taking a baby wipe to clean up any excess ink that I do not want in my design. I'm going to hover, fully commit, tickle the back of the stamp, and then pick straight up. I like to clean my stamps immediately after I get done stamping with a baby wipe. This just keeps your stamps new and fresh. And I'm just going to continue doing this process in a few blank areas until I like the way it looks. And that's all for this project. I did add a jute twine hanger that I didn't show y'all, and I did apply a matte top coat to seal those transfers. But other than that, this project is done. I love how it came out. I'm probably going to price this one for $19.95. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this one. I hope y'all enjoyed today's projects. If you did, hit that like button and let me know which project is your favorite in the comments. If you got any inspiration from today's video, consider subscribing if you have not already. Thank y'all so much for spending your time with me today. I'll talk to y'all in the comments. Bye.